It was a typical evening on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. The set sparkled under the studio lights, and the audience buzzed with anticipation. But tonight wasn't just another celebrity appearance or light-hearted banter. It was Pete Hegseth, a conservative political commentator and Fox News personality, sitting across from one of late-night television's most outspoken liberal voices. Stephen greeted Pete with his usual sharp charm, joking, "I had to get Fox's permission to even say your name." Laughter erupted, but Pete only smiled thinly. "I'm just surprised you invited me," Pete replied. "I thought you only let conservatives on to roast them." The audience laughed again, but this time with more edge. Colbert leaned in, intrigued. "Well, maybe I'm just in the mood for a little intellectual jujitsu." Pete folded his hands. "As long as we're not just play fighting." What began as a tense but civil exchange started veering into dangerous territory. Colbert asked pointed questions about Pete's support of controversial political figures, his critiques of liberal media, and his strong stance on patriotism. "You've said America needs a revival of strength and values," Stephen said, eyebrow raised. "Would you say that starts by calling journalists enemies of the people?" Pete didn't flinch. "I'd say it starts by calling out lies when we see them, even when they're told with a smile, like here." The crowd quieted. Colbert's expression hardened. This wasn't entertainment anymore. It was the beginning of a storm neither side was fully prepared for. The air on set thickened as Pete Hegseth leaned forward, his voice steady but firm. "You sit behind this desk," Pete began, "night after night mocking people like me. You say it's comedy, but you push a narrative. You don't even try to understand the half of this country that disagrees with you." Colbert tilted his head, the signature smirk fading. "Pete, this is the Late Show, not a congressional hearing. If you came here to pick a fight, you're a little late. The line forms behind every senator and billionaire I've ever interviewed." The crowd chuckled nervously, sensing the tension, turning combustible. "I didn't come to pick a fight," Pete shot back, "but I also won't sit here and be talked down to by someone who lives in a media bubble and thinks patriotism is a punchline." Colbert's smile vanished. "Patriotism is not a punchline. Hypocrisy is." A hushed ooh rippled through the audience. Hegseth's face darkened, his voice rising for the first time. "You think you're the moral compass of America? Sitting here every night sipping tea and mocking faith, flag and family?" The cameras stayed fixed as Stephen leaned back, arms crossed, calm but cold. "No, Pete. I just believe truth matters, even when it's inconvenient to your TV ratings." A split-second silence fell, then scattered claps, uncertain, hesitant. Pete's jaw tightened. "This isn't a conversation. This is a hit job." Colbert replied coolly, "If this is a hit job, you walked into it willingly." The audience gasped. Pete paused, pushed his chair back slightly. The battle lines were drawn, and the tension had now reached a boiling point. The lights were still bright, but the mood had turned dark. Pete Hegseth adjusted his blazer, leaned forward, and pointed across the desk at Stephen Colbert. "You know what, Stephen? You sit here every night and pretend to be America's conscience, but you mock half the country that wears a uniform, goes to church, and works double shifts just to make ends meet. That's not comedy. That's contempt." The audience murmured. Again, this time not with laughter, but unease. Colbert, unfazed, held his gaze. "I respect service, Pete. I respect sacrifice, but what I don't respect is when people use those values as a shield to avoid accountability." That hit hard. Pete's face flushed. "You're twisting words. I came here thinking we could actually have a civil dialogue. Instead, you're proving exactly why people don't trust this media machine. You laugh at America, not with it." Stephen stood now, a rare move for him. "Let's be real, Pete. You came here looking for a fight, and now that you're losing it, you're playing the victim." Gasps and stifled reactions came from the crowd. Even the band had gone silent. Pete slowly stood too, losing it. You think because you've got applause and a desk you win. No, you're just louder, but louder doesn't make you right. For a second the two men stood facing each other, neither blinking. Then Pete shook his head, eyes scanning the studio. I didn't come to play your game, Stephen. I don't need this scripted circus. And with that, he yanked off his microphone, tossed it on the desk and turned away from the cameras. The audience didn't know whether to clap, gasp, or stay silent. Colbert watched him walk off stage, then looked at the audience and muttered dryly, "Well, that escalated quickly." Nervous laughter followed, but the mood was unmistakable. Something real had just unfolded, unscripted and raw. The studio buzzed with tension as the cameras cut away from the empty spot where Pete had stood just moments before. Stephen Colbert sat back down, his smile replaced by a thoughtful frown. "Well, folks, you just witnessed one of the more heated moments we've ever had here," he said, trying to regain composure. Behind the scenes, producers scrambled to manage the fallout, coordinating with PR teams and preparing statements. Clips of the confrontation quickly flooded social media. Hashtags like "Should Pete Walkout" and "Should Colbert Clash" trending worldwide within minutes. Meanwhile, Pete was already in his dressing room, his heart pounding. The adrenaline rush from the confrontation was quickly replaced by a mix of anger and regret. He stared at his reflection in the mirror, questioning if walking off was the right move. But deep down, he felt he had stood up for what he believed. Across the country, viewers were divided. Some applauded Pete's decision to leave, calling it a powerful stand against what they saw as unfair treatment. Others criticized him for being unable to handle a tough interview, accusing him of avoiding accountability. Stephen, in the days that followed, addressed the incident several times on his show, emphasizing the importance of civil discourse, but acknowledging how quickly conversations can turn personal and volatile. The episode left a lasting mark, a reminder that behind every show, behind every public figure, are real emotions and complex truths. And sometimes even scripted television can't contain the heat of honest confrontation.